Hi, lab activities let you track events in real time from the lock screen and dynamic island, like scores, deliveries, and workouts. But here's the problem. Apple has tons of documentation, yet no complete end-to-end example, especially for push notifications. So in this video, we'll go from zero to full implementation. Design, code, and push examples for starting and updating a live activity. I'll also share debugging tricks that can save you hours on easy-to-miss issues. You'll find the full project in the description, and the video has chapters for easy navigation. And if you're new here, I'm Felipe, an iOS developer based in Norway. Okay, let's start with some basic context. Live activities were originally introduced on iOS 16 and have gotten updates on 17, 18, and 26 as well. The intention is to replace a series of push notifications informing about a given live event. They can keep track of live events up to 8 hours. Some interesting use cases for live activities could be food delivery events, a plane ride, keeping track of match scores, bus tickets, renting a scooter, and many others. To build our own, let's start with design, live activity states. When you want to create a live activity for your app, you need to design the 4 required design states for it. 1. Lock screen. Use when your phone is locked. It will appear with a custom view in the lock screen. It will also be used on home screen for devices that don't have the dynamic island. 2. Dynamic island expanded. Use when your live activity is running and you press on the dynamic island. Then you will see an expanded version of the activity. 3. Dynamic island compact. If your live activity is the only one running at the moment, in the home screen, the live activity will use this state, showing bits of information in both sides of the dynamic island. 4. Dynamic island minimal. If there are more than one live activity running at the same time, your live activity will be displayed in a minimal state. This state can be presented as attached, as part of the camera cutout, or detached, as its own small area next to the dynamic island. It's important to notice that all of these 4 states are required when designing and developing a live activity. So it's good to have an idea on how you would solve your problem in all these cases. There's a 5th design case we can consider, watches. By default, when running a live activity, your Apple Watch will show it on the Smart Stack on the watch with an adapted version of your compact presentation. You can create a custom design for Apple Watch, but this is optional. My example. For my sample project, I will be building a live activity on a sports app to keep track of the score of a football match. Here are the possible states for the match. And for simplicity, I discarded time extensions, extra periods, and penalties. These are the domain model states and basic logic of my live activity. One important part is to define how those states will be presented as live activity. Even more, we will need to know how we'll render those domain states in all the required live activity design presentations. With this combination of domain states and design presentations clear, I can start modeling the data that I need to create this live activity. Develop. Modeling the data. When the match is playing, the data that my live activity needs starts with the blue team name and image and the red team name and image, the blue team score and the red team score. Then I need the information about the current match state. When the match is playing, I will need the name of the period, the time when the period starts, and how much is left of that half. I will need the match start time to know if the match has started, is paused, or has ended. That's all the information that I need for this live activity, and I made sure of it by designing the activity in all the relevant state combinations. Now, with this data for live activities, it's important to distinguish between attributes and content state. Attributes are the data that is constant across the full duration of the activity, and the content state is the data that changes over time within the duration of the activity. The distinction is important as we have a limit of 4 kilobytes of data for the content state values. With this separation, we can define the required data structures for creating live activities. A structure that conforms to activity attributes, in this case, the team's information, and the match start time. Also a structure called content state, nested in activity attributes, as the protocol requirement of an associated type. Here, we will set the properties like the score and the match state. I will have these types defined in an SPM package in my project, as I will be including the types both from my iOS target and widget target. Live activity definition. With that in place, it's time to define the live activity. You do that by creating a widget type whose body is activity configuration. In here, we pass the score activity attributes effectively declaring that this live activity in particular works with that type of data. The two required closures are used to define the UI for the lock screen and the dynamic island configurations. Those closures receive an activity context type where you can access the attributes and the content state. In the case of the lock screen closure, we need to build a CFUI view. Since we're in a widget context, the CFUI view needs to be compatible with WidgetKit. This means we won't be able to use views like async image, for example. For the dynamic island, we use the dynamic island definition, where we define the different presentations relevant to it. The interesting one is expanded presentation. Instead of returning a single view, we create it by defining regions of the expanded presentation: leading, trailing, center, and bottom. Since I designed the score activity and considered all the different combinations, that gave me a great indication on how we'll create the pieces of UI that I will need for the live activity definition. I won't go into much detail in here about that UI, since it's quite simple. My full working sample code repo is linked in the description down below. One aspect I will mention though, is that for certain views, I will use the activity family environment to adapt my UI for the custom watchOS presentation. Usage. The demo app. For my example, I create a simple demo app. The only thing that this app does is allow the user to start and update a live activity manually for debugging purposes. Starting a live activity in code. When we press the Start button, it will execute the Start activity function, where I create the attributes and content values for the activity and call tryActivity.request. An important aspect to know is that to start the live activity, the app needs to be in the foreground. Updating the live activity in code. Once I start a live activity, I keep a reference to it and then create the new content value and call the update method on it. Ending a live activity in code. With the same live activity reference from before, ending the activity can be achieved by the end method on the activity itself. As parameter for this method, we can specify how long we want to keep the activity UI after the activity ended. Managing the activity lifecycle via push notifications. Since iOS 17.2, we can start live activities via push notifications. I will start by giving an overview of this process, and then I will show the concrete steps. To be able to start an activity via push notification, the first thing we will need after the activity is set up on the project is a start token. When we launch the app, we can start listening for the activity's start token. Then, we need to inform our backend server about this token, which will be used to send a push notification via APNS to determine which device and which live activity to start. This token value will change every time the app is launched, so we need to make sure our backend value is up to date. We obtain this token by reading it from the async sequence, activity, score activity attributes, push to start token updates. Once a live activity is started, we should listen for activity updates and the nested async sequence, push to token updates. We need to send this token to the backend too. This token is used for the rest of the live activity to send updates and end the live activity via push notification. The reason this token is different is that we can run multiple instances of the same live activity. Let's say, if we observe two football matches playing at the same time, then we need a way to identify each live activity instance to know which one to update. Launching the demo app. As I mentioned, the first step is to get that start token. If I launch the demo app, it will print it in the console. In the app delegate, I will create a task to observe the push to start token async sequence.
Once I copy the start token, I can go to the Xcode project file, and then in the signing and capabilities section, I can see the push console button. When I press that button, it opens the CloudKit console. After logging in, I make sure that I'm on the right team, and then I try to find the right bundle ID for my application. In this case, the live activity demo. On the Send tab, I can create notifications that I can send directly to a device. I will give the notification a name, Start Live Activity. I make sure I'm on the development environment for the push, as the app running in the simulator is. I need to select the live activity as a push type, and finally, I need the JSON content for the push. I made a command line utility that helps me create this JSON content for my demo using the data structures I defined for the live activity.
The structure of the JSON content to start an activity goes like this. We need the event property set to start, a timestamp in seconds since 1970 format, an attribute type property with the value of your activity attributes implementation. In my case, this will be score activity attributes. Then, the attributes key will need a value of a JSON representation of score activity attributes. So in this case, I'm passing the team info plus the match start time. A content state property with the initial value of score activity attributes content state. In this case, the match has not yet started. Finally, an alert object that can be sent to inform the user that the activity is starting.
I can copy that JSON and paste it in the console. Then I can either check the generate curl command to send this push from the terminal, or I can simply send it. The console informs me that the push was sent successfully, and as we see on the right, the push was received and the live activity was started.
I made a Swift script that allows me to generate JSON data for the different events that I want to show in my demo. One advantage of writing this script in Swift is that I can import the score activity attributes and its content state to create JSON directly from serializing values, which will ensure that I don't have any decoding errors when the app receives a JSON from the score attributes. It's also possible to use the terminal to send push notifications to APNS, but for that, you need to configure certain environment variables for authentication. Apple has great documentation for this that is linked in the description down below.
Now, going back to the Xcode console, we can see that there is like an update token available. We use this token to update this instance of the live activity via push notification, so I will copy that value. I will create a new push notification now to update the live activity, indicating that the match has started. After assigning the name and pasting the update token, I make sure the push type is still live activity. Then I generate and copy the JSON for this update.
Now for the updating activity, the JSON content is slightly different. Now the event is update. We don't need the attributes and attribute type properties, but we do need the content state value.
I can see generate a curl command or send the push directly. The push was received and the activity updated and changed the background color as I defined in my design. To send a new update push to my live activity, instead of creating one from scratch, I can use the clone button and update the fields for the push. In this case, I need a new JSON to inform the user that there was a goal in the match. Generate and copy the JSON, and I can send the push. Then we can see the live activity is updated. With the same steps, I can create a push that will set the match state to halftime. I can also create a new push that will update the match, informing that there was a second goal. The match became interesting, but at the last 5 minutes of it, a new goal happened. Then I can make the push to inform the users about it. Finally, the match ended. For that, I can create a new push, still using the update token from before, and have a special JSON that signals the end of the live activity, together with its last state and instructions on how long before the activity is removed by iOS. Also, for demonstration purposes, I can show that even though there is a running live activity, I can send a push with the start token again to launch a new instance of the live activity.
Debugging push notifications. In my experience, debugging live activities that use push notifications is not as easy as you cannot set a breakpoint when the system starts or updates the live activity. It's basically an underlying system process. In my road of learning about live activities, the problems I encountered the most were 1. Decoding problems for content state or attributes. iOS will let you know that there is a decoding problem, but it won't say what is the concrete problem. 2. All dates in the JSON content for the push must be in the same format. Seconds in 1970, which is not the default encoding strategy for the JSON encoder. It's actually seconds since the reference time, 1990. So be aware of that, which can lead to silent failures, as since in JSON both formats are represented by numeric values, you might encounter that when you send a numeric value in reference time, the activity won't start, even if the push was received correctly, because the date's in the past. So be careful with this detail. It took me quite a while to catch this issue. 3. The value of the timestamp needs to be relatively close to the time the push is sent. Otherwise, the live activity won't update even if the push is received successfully, and iOS won't warn you about this error, which could happen if the timestamp of your update was yesterday, for example. The update would be silently discarded in that case. About silent errors, there is not much we can do for debugging, but for all the rest, Apple suggests to use the console app and observe the processes Live Activity SD, APSD, and ChronoD, and your iOS target too. We went from design, coding, and usage of the live activity, both in code and via push notifications. In the description down below, you will find my full working example and relevant documentation to dig deeper into this topic. Let me know if you have any questions, and don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like this video, check out my deep dive into Passkit next or my other Swift UI content. And until the next one.